5. To block this call and all future calls, press 7. To reject this call, hang up now. You may begin speaking now.
Hello, welcome to Convict Inc. Before I forget, some issues came up about Bobby Manna. I heard he passed away. Now I'm hearing that maybe he did not pass away, and that maybe there's some weirdo out there claiming to be a relative of his that kind of duped Jeff Nadeau and James Proctor. And I just want to say I was surprised by that, by the way, because both those guys do some research. But if somebody passed away, it should say so on the BOP website. It's pretty easy to find. What they usually do is they usually hold the body, I think, 48 hours in the morgue of the prisons or some area that makes sure everybody's dead. And then I think they put something up on the website. I'm pretty sure that's how it happened. Anyway, last night, historical night. Yesterday, my day started at 3 o'clock in the morning. We have 3 TVs in front of my cell. Started watching one of them anyway. Early, got up for 3 o'clock. I'm going through some sleeping issues. I do that every once in a while. It's probably related to not having an out date yet, and I know that I'm going to be any time, and I just haven't gotten a date. But anyway, so started watching everything yesterday, and about 6 o'clock when the first numbers started coming in, the exit polls, I didn't believe Trump was going to win. My gut feeling told me that he would not, and it was because of some of the questions in the polls. 53% of the people said that they believed that illegals should have a pathway to citizenship. When I saw that, knowing that Trump supporters overwhelmingly believe that they should be deported quickly, I thought that was a bad sign for him, and there was something else I forgot. But anyway, my favorite part of the night, a bunch of us did. There's guys that we watched all day long. There was CNN and Fox News was on with CBS and ABC rotating on the third TV sometimes. Unless my cellie was watching Vanderpump Rules in the Valley, which I hate to admit that I'm starting to watch these stupid shows and Boats and Hoes. The girls, the ones on the yachts, who, by the way, are in Spain and Ibiza, I should say, I'm sorry. And, and Catfish, Jesus Christ, 55 years old and watching fucking Catfish on MTV. I should be ashamed of myself. But anyway, that's kind of how we waste our days, some of us. My favorite part of the night, for sure, I was watching, at 6 o'clock, I was waiting for Indiana to come in, watching Vigo County, or Vigo, some people say, but it's Vigo. Vigo has called the presidential elections for like 100 years. I think they missed one time, so I was watching that county real close and to get a feel of what was going to happen. And when it was totally obvious at 1 in the morning, the writing was on the wall about 12, but when it was obvious, and I thought that it was pretty weak that Kamala didn't come out and didn't give the Trump people their victory party when they were all lined up that night. She had to wait. That was bullshit. And then she didn't. I mean, she wouldn't go. She ghosted everybody. Her whole campaign just left everybody hanging, which was a bullshit move. But whatever. I was watching CBS. Nora O'Donnell. What's that girl's name? Margaret Brennan or whatever. She freaked out. I was laughing so hard. During that conversation, she was talking to one of the Trump talking heads, and it mentioned something about criminal justice reform, which ties into this audio. They're going to be looking to cut some spending some places, and where two-thirds of the deficit are entitlement programs. So I don't know where, but I can give them a billion ideas on where to cut spending inside the Federal Bureau of Prisons. I wish they'd give me this job. Anyway, I also watched Van Jones on CNN freak out, talking about it was black women's nightmare and how they've been hurting and struggling, how they're the most discriminated against people in the world, and this is going to be a nightmare for them. And transgender.
This call is from a federal prison.
Ladies and transgenders. Not realizing that the coalition of Trump's was more inclusive race-wise, I think, across all demographics than any other presidency, but it just shows that they're so stuck that grievance system that they have. I don't want to say race baiters. It's the race industry. It's a alive and well, and it's disgusting. And hopefully that someday they'll realize that people, especially black men, the only color they care about is green, and that's the money. But I know the correctional officers here that are black are loving it, loving Trump, loving his ideas, and that is drill, baby, drill, right from the beginning. The tariffs, I think, will hurt, but I think there's a good idea. But yeah, I love watching the meltdown. I love watching them trying to figure out what happened. They have tried to convince everybody. So they live in a bubble, and they want everybody else to believe their bullshit. It's like that whole Puerto Rican comment that happened, saying that Puerto Rican was garbage, which, by the way, was a stupid comment by that comedian at a political rally. But trying to make people think that was just going to take the election down, and then they went, and CNN and some other places went to, like, they found a couple Puerto Ricans in Pennsylvania that were mad, and they were like, that was going to be, like, for sure is going to take everybody out. And I think that what the sad part about it is those people believe their own reporting. They really do. And it's just, it's funny and it's sad at the same time. And I just wish we had some kind of informed media that we don't have, people don't have to search the ends of the internet just to find some truth, or you can just listen to me all the time. I'll give you the truth. But anyway, criminal justice reform, there's not an appetite for it. I realize that. Look at what happened in California with Prop 36. People get tired of people shoplifting and it being a misdemeanor. Being able to run into stores if your kids grab a bunch of shit and not have any repercussions. Fentanyl really destroyed all criminal justice reform, if you ask me, because people don't care about the length of sentencing. People do care about money. Trump administration does care about money. They do care about the cost of incarceration, or they will if they really look at it. Elon wants to come in, be the hero, and save it, and start slicing trillions of dollars. One of the things that needs to be done is to do away with Title 18. That Title 18, USC Title 18, whatever, I believe that's what it is. Was it? Yeah, I think 18. It basically set out a guidebook or laws that has encompassed anything can become a federal crime now. It used to be that there was only like bank robbers, major drug dealers, financial guys. That's why the federal prison system was so low in the 80s before the crack epidemic. And then they started just making everything. Somebody runs into a liquor store with the gun. They've got the Hobbs Act. Next thing you know, they're in federal prison. Some little crackhead with $10 worth of crack is now in prison for doing 20 years or life sentences based on some prior convictions. Give the drug crimes back to the state, except for big players. That would be huge. Cut some of these staff jobs. They can mimic the private prison that I was in. Basically, but my biggest thing I would have to say is to give crime back to the states, and what that would do is, let's say for example, let me call back. I gotta call back. Okay, so I'm back. This is part 2 of it. Anyway, I was talking about criminal justice reform, and I know there's no appetite in this country for it. The thing that concerns me is that people just don't get the amount of time that people are given at a federal level. Hell, I'd even argue at some state levels, and nobody really seems to care. And my hope now is that with a budget hawk or somebody that's claiming to be, that's President Trump and Musk, that they start looking at the cost of incarceration. And I'm going to tell you something else. It's a really big problem, is all these clickers. And by that I mean guys that are in prison incarcerated for this internet porn charges. I'm telling you, the amount that are even in the place that I'm in the hospital, it's like they're all sick. They all need medical attention, and they have a constitutional right to be taken care of. People on the streets do not even have a constitutional right to be taken care of. They do, and the system's getting filled up with them. So, don't get me wrong. I'm not advocating that there shouldn't be laws against or crimes against it. I'm saying that this is becoming a problem. Maybe there can be some way they can take their money. Most of them have money too. That's what's crazy. But anyway, I do see, like I said, with Proposition 36, that criminal justice reform is really low on the agenda. But there can be ideas that the feds can start giving the states their criminals. time in state prisons. And let me tell you something else. What happens is you put a bunch of people into federal prison. Not only do they have newer connects and wider connections to do crime all over the country more, okay? So now you've just increased their criminal resume, if you will. But now you've got this whole gang thing that started happening since 2005, this really explosion of gangs, especially white prison gangs. Well, if you keep people contained to their areas, I'm not saying there won't be gangs in prison, but now you have gangs that reach across lines. As gangs they spread, they become more numerous, and that's a result as of putting low-level criminals in with each other in federal prison, mostly because they're low levels. Now, what would happen? So let's say you took all the drug dealers and you start putting them in the state. Well, then the state would be burgeoning with them. And then what would they do? Well, they'd have to start looking at drug lords. People would find solutions. And they'd find cost-effective solutions. So, it's just, I think that a look, a push needs to be, what I'm trying to say is I think that the solution may also lie more in private prisons. And I know a lot of people are against private prisons because they're all about cutting costs, and they cut the cost on the healthcare stuff. And there's been horror stories in the past where people didn't get the right medical attention in these private prisons. And I'm not going to say that I witnessed it. I can see that they get clogged up a little bit more, probably. So I don't know. I'd have to look at the numbers and the statistics. But if it's more cost effective to have the government contract people out in the private prisons, then maybe that's it. And yeah, I've said that I was sold to a private prison, and I meant that. That's how it worked out when I was at Cimarron. For those of you that don't know, I'm on a violation for federal supervised release, and after I got arrested,
This call is from a federal prison.
Marshal hold. Then the marshals contracted me out into a private prison. So somebody bought me. That's kind of weird and creepy, but somebody bought me, and then ultimately sent me to the feds. But I think one of the things I also am concerned about is people all automatically say, we'll cut the cost. They're going to put them on bread and water. Their food's too good, this or that. Not realizing, not thinking that the punishment is the incarceration. It shouldn't be the food. It shouldn't be programs. But there's a lot of waste at the Washington level in the Federal Bureau of Prisons. A lot of these people don't even show up for their jobs. I know that for a fact. They are on the payroll. Even COVID even did worse, but let's say I had a correction officer who was a job steward at Terre Haute, who told me that he went to the Federal Bureau of Prisons in Washington, or is it in Virginia, wherever it's at, and he was amazed when he walked in and he would see, let's say, a room that had 5 desks. There'd be one person in a desk, and those other 4 desks would be empty. Those people would be at home, no-show jobs, but still getting paid, they can go in there and just rip that place apart, and I hope they do. And again, the structure of the staff maybe they should look at the private prisons, the way they use it, the way they staff their prisons. Because I'll give you an example. They have a warden, then 2 associate wardens under him, one for programs and one for custody. And then when you have a complex like this, you'll have 5 wardens and a complex warden. Those people are making $200,000 a year and better. So, just big. These correction officers are making $150,000 a year. One of them here the other day was just bragging. He was mad at some people for not closing in. He said, I'm 29 years old. I make $150,000 a year. Do you think I won't shake your cell down? I can either sit in the room and do nothing. I can go bother fuck with you for $150,000 a year. That's what I'll do. I'm 29. That's what he said. So that's the kind of money they're making for being adult babysitters. Saul Kamala give her final farewell speech. Good riddance. She's done. Maybe she's going to have a big super PAC and do what they do and make a bunch of money. Looking forward to seeing what Trump does on day one. That's about it. I have a friend of mine who hates the whole idea of Trump. Just said something about Medicare being cut. I don't believe that. That's one of the entitlement programs. I heard them talk about that specifically on the news last night. that 2/3 of the deficit, I think, or the budget, I forgot what it was, went to entitlement programs, and that was never going to be cut. And they were trying to say, where are you going to cut spending and waste and stuff like that? But again, I have to get nitty gritty and look at the numbers, and I will when I get out. But yeah, and of course, when it comes to when I say I have to look at it again, I'm talking in regards to numbers on criminal justice reform. I may play pundit some other time, and I'll see what I'm going to do when I get out. Anyway, that's about it for now. Thanks for your support. If you like this audio, tell your family, friends, neighbors, like it, whatever, and go to the top of the page, look at the merch section, and buy even a magnet if you can. Bye.